help me to remember to remind people that this service is all. Okay. If you take your seat. Good evening, everybody, and welcome and Merry Christmas to you all. It is such a joy to have people here for this service this evening. I remember this service last year, and I was here on my own with the computer, and I almost cried because I said, this is so wrong on so many levels. It's like Christmas Eve is all about having people there with you to celebrate. So it's a great pleasure to have you here. So as we gather, I just want to make sure I'm really inclusive. Is there anybody who's here for their first time? Just raise your hand. We're not going to ask you to do anything. Okay, we have one person who's here for the first time. And we have some returnees. Jade, right? Yay, welcome back. Yvonne's son hasn't been here for several years. That's great to have you here. And anybody else? Anybody else bring a guest that you want to introduce? Nice to have you back. And Reverend Joe and Lynn are sitting just 2 rows back behind you. They know you. Okay, so we have harmony for Christmas Eve. It's symbolic. So thank you for being here, and thank you for wearing your masks. And I think we should have had a mask contest. There's some beautiful lace masks back there, and then of course we have glittering masks up here and all of that. So wonderful. All right, so on this auspicious evening, we gather once again to celebrate Christmas. And like the characters in the original story depicted for us back here on the altar, we might be feeling a little bit displaced, that all isn't kind of going to plan, or how it ought to be, at least in our own minds. So you could say the metaphor is that there is no room at the inn, once again, for various reasons. Because for a second Christmas, the world is celebrating with all of the restrictions still to do with COVID and the pandemic. And as we know, people are not able to travel as they would like, to be with their families. Many have lost someone they love due to the virus. Some are currently ill with it themselves, or they're looking after a family member, perhaps. And then, of course, we have some with long-term COVID. So there is a certain amount of a cloud over our celebrations, and maybe for some still an anxiety about gathering even. But all of this pushes us to look a little more deeply to the real message of Christmas. And so it begs the question, you know, if we couldn't gather at all, if we were in isolation from other people, what would Christmas mean to you? And I think that's a great question for us to ponder tonight as we gather. But to start us off, I'm going to ask you to stand, and Kellie Garmire is going to help us sing our opening carol, O Come All Ye Faithful. And you have a handout, so the words are in there if you need them. Thank you. Please be seated. And as always, I just mention, of course, that the Christmas carols don't always reflect the unity theology, but it doesn't work to try and change the wording. So you'll just have to, make a mental note as you sing. And so this evening, Cathy Lee Knight has graciously joined us as my platform assistant, and now she's going to light for us the Christ candle that has not been lit for the last 4 weeks. Over to you, Cathy Lee.
Thank you, Reverend Jerry. We start, as we do all unity services, by lighting the Christ candle. Father Richard Rohr's definition of the Christ is that it is another word for everything and for everyone. The Christ candle then represents the substance and the essence of the whole universe, which fundamentally is divine light. It is the building block of the quantum field and of each and every one of us. The light of this candle represents the essence of all forms and all beings who have ever lived on this very planet. We light this candle this evening to remember that we are equally the light, just as much as Jesus was, and to remind ourselves that our calling in light is to express the light that we are, to be pure radiance. It is the truth. We own it fully on this most auspicious of evenings.
So our Advent candles remind us of the journey that we have undertaken these last 4 weeks to get to the point once again of celebrating the light. So for my invocation this evening, I'd like to begin with a quote from Unity's co-founder, Charles Fillmore. And in 1919, Charles said, "Christmas is about the birth of the Christ consciousness at the center of the human soul. It does not belong to the past. It is a vital, living, present truth. The bringing forth of the Christ child is not work that has finished in Bethlehem. It is taking place in our midst every day." And so he reminds us that it is this work that we celebrate, the work that we all do every day to bring forth the Christ light in us. Just think back over the past year. Think of all the time that you meditated and that you connected to your soul and to that Christ presence. Or think of all the prayers that you have said for others, all of the videos and YouTubes and audios and workshops and, on and on, all those things that we all do, all the practices that we undertake to increase that light. Well, we're celebrating all that again tonight because we are brighter. We are brighter than this time last year. And I know we are because we have been through a difficult and challenging journey in this past year. Christmas is a magical time when we can witness and experience the presence of God on earth. It's like most people are on their best behavior. And so there's a joy there that we can feel when we go out on the streets. It's a truly wonderful time. And we feel the heart opening gift of giving generously to others while sharing time with family, friends, and those in need in our world. And so this holiday season, then, let us endeavor to be and see the light of God, for that truly is the greatest gift that we can both give and receive in this time. So now Cathy Lee is going to read the daily word for Christmas Eve.
Friday, December 24th, 2021. I follow divine light toward rebirth and renewal. A new birth is on the horizon as I follow faithfully the guiding light of spirit. I anticipate the joyful awakening of a renewed sense of oneness with the indwelling Christ presence. I hold the intention today to imagine myself in the Christmas story. What does a journey to Bethlehem mean to me? I look inward. I may sit in silence as I hold this question in my heart. Whether I will enjoy a quiet day alone or a busy day of preparation and activities, I reverently embrace this prelude to rebirth. I honor myself with the gift of reflection. In the Gospel of Luke, the shepherds took no gifts to Bethlehem other than their humble presence, their very beings. Likewise, I bring the gift of myself, my open and receptive mind, soul, and body.
I follow divine light toward rebirth and renewal. Together. I follow divine light toward rebirth and renewal. And so now we have a treat in store as Kellie sings an alternative version of Mary, Did You Know?
Mary, did you know that your ancient words would still leap off our pages? Mary, did you know that your spirit's song would echo through the ages? Did you know that your holy cry would be subversive word? That the tyrants would be trembling when they know your truth is heard? Mary, did you know that your lullaby would stir your own child's passion? Mary, did you know that your song inspires the work of liberation? Did you know that your jubilee is hope within the heart of all who dream of justice, who yearn for it to start? Mary, did you know? The truth will teach, the drums will sound, the healing of the pain. The poor will rise, enough for all, and hope will live again. Mary, did you know that we hear your voice for healing of the nations? Mary, did you know your unsettling cry can help renew creation? Do you know that we need your faith, the Mary, did you know?
That was beautiful, thank you. So we continue our service by reading a simple but profound piece of literature that has been a beacon of light for so many people. A piece of literature that has inspired lives of holiness, of service to humankind. So let us feel and know the power and wonder of these majestic and mysterious words once again, as Cathy Lee reads for us the description of the birth.
Now, in those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that a census be taken of all the inhabited earth. This was the first census taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone was on his way to register for the census, each to his own city. Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the city of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was from the house and the family of David, in order to register along with Mary, who was engaged to him and was with child. While they were there, the days were completed for her to give birth, and she gave birth to her firstborn son, and she wrapped him in cloths, and she laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them at the inn.
The talk title I've chosen this evening is Coming into Full Awareness. The opening carol that we sang this evening at the start of the service invited us to come. In case you've forgotten already, it was, O come, Emmanuel. No. But come to where, and come to whom, and to what? To come to an awareness might be the simplest answer that I can give. To become aware of a deeper identity and presence than the one most of the world experiences. The Christmas creche, the baby Jesus, Mary and Joseph, along with all the ancillary players of the shepherds and the wise men, plus the assortment of animals, calls out to us to come and take a look. Take a close look. What do you see? On the surface of things, we see a rather ordinary scene from the life of a simple society from 2,000 years ago. A somewhat sad or tragic scene at one level of poverty, of need, and of lack. These people weren't people of means, the movers and the shakers of society. In fact, they were quite the opposite. They belonged to the unsung masses of poor country folk who were looked down upon by the city dwellers. They weren't sophisticated or considered astute. Mary didn't have prenatal health care insurance, or a clinic, or a hospital to go to have her baby. I guess she didn't even have another woman there to help her give birth. And there wasn't any exemption for her not to have to travel because she was pregnant from Nazareth to Bethlehem for the government census that was taking place. She didn't wield any such political or social power to get her some kind of exemption. And she and Joseph had to do with sloppy seconds, or more like thirds, when it came to finding a place to stay. There was no hotels.com app for them to go to, or VRBO to look up. The stable provided minimal safety and care for the night. Not what you would want if you were about to give birth, or what you would expect for the arrival of the most celebrated human being of all time. Certainly not fit for a king or a celebrity. If writers were to sit down and write a screenplay for a movie that was about the arrival of God on the planet, Bethlehem 2,000 years ago would not be the scenario that we would most likely have picked. We probably would have picked a modern day society with the best expertise in prenatal care, with a state-of-the-art maternity unit where all the wealthy people would go to give birth. It would be safe and secure with all medical precautions in place. Who would Mary and Joseph be in our script? Maybe they would be from a powerful political family, or from a well-known religious group at least, with lots of money and means to achieve their end. Maybe they might even be from European royalty, with lots of connections and influence. Or at least they would have been from the family of some modern-day billionaire jetting off into space. And yet, in reality and historically, that is not what happened at all. It was the opposite. Do you ever stop and wonder why that might be? I mean, after all, God was the scriptwriter. Why was it written this way? It all goes back to our image and understanding of who or what God is. Because that creche scene is a representation of Mary's image and understanding of God. Like so many other things, that representation has been hugely distorted over the last 2,000 years. And I asked Kellie to sing that alternative version of Mary, Did You Know, for our service. Because the original song really focuses on Jesus as this miracle worker and wonder man who has a lot of power. But again, that does not reflect the reality of what this story tells us. Many have turned Jesus into a Superman or an emperor or a mythical figure who becomes a savior and a judge. Why? Because that is what the human mind envisions God to be. And yet, Mary presents a much different God, doesn't she? It is more of a helpless God, a powerless God, a humble God, a lowly God who emptied itself of greatness and grandeur so that we could feel at home in its presence. This image of God was defenseless in the face of human beings. It was willing to put its life into our hands, at risk even. A life that on the surface of things looked insignificant in terms of the world in some backwater country, an outpost of the Roman Empire. A life just like ours, fairly ordinary. But it called out for a respect for all life, for the lowly in society. And it was a clarion cry for liberation from all the limiting ideas that we as humans have about ourselves and that we have projected onto others. It was a call for justice and equity and equality for all peoples, regardless of social standing, race, ethnicity, religion, creed. It was a message of hope for humanity, a healing indeed for the nations. Her cry of, "Let it be done unto me according to thy word," is a mantra for all who want to partner with God in renewing creation. It's like the Nike slogan, "Just do it. Let's get on with it." That was Mary's attitude. And that's what we're being called to as well. This is the God that she believed in, a God that would partner with a pregnant teenager. Some speculate that she may have been as young as 14, others 16. A God that co-creates with a homeless pregnant teenager who ends up on the run for her baby's life and her own life, as an immigrant seeking refuge in a foreign land, in a completely different culture in Egypt. What does this story tell us about where God is to be found? Definitely not in the safe and secure places of the world. More like in the desperate people who exist on the edges, who have little or no resources or influence, among those where we don't want to find God necessarily, those we label different and other, among those where we don't look for or expect to find God at all. We want to find God in the nice people, in the middle class people, in the normal people, in legal situations with no complications. And yet, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph are none of those things, by the way. Maybe we've been looking for God in all the wrong people and all the wrong places. Instead, God chooses the ordinary and the messy, the not so perfect people and situations. And that's the good news for us, isn't it? For me and for you, because I have spent my life trying to be perfect, not living a flawed and messy life, always trying to get my act together, trying to have some power, some means, some influence, and I imagine so have you. But we don't need to be obsessed with doing that, because we can come as we are. The shepherds, the animals, all represent that in this creche scene. The simple clod of earth that I am and that you are. We can come as we are, because within that clod of clay and earth and flesh and blood is gold running in our veins, our magnificence. What is the essence of this Christmas story? God being totally vulnerable, totally poor, and as innocent as a little child. No scriptwriter would have come up with that. Yet, has it dawned on us yet that our image of God is not what this story presents to us? Sadly, most people's image of God is more akin to that of Santa Claus, making a list, checking it twice, finding out who's naughty or nice, keeping score, and punishing the offenders. It's certainly not this humble, helpless baby who has come to love us in ways that we're not yet ready to be loved. we can't even take it in. And so what Christmas tells us is that reality at its deepest foundation is good, is innocent, and is pure. The divine is quietly hidden, embedded in the human. The holy is hidden in the physical and in the material. And because that is true, we have every reason to live in hope and trust and confidence. God is disguised in every human form, no matter how off-putting to the eye. And because God is intimately present in all life form, then this world is most precious to the divine, and so are we. And that is the good news of this beautiful night. Let us bask in its warmth and the comfort that it gives us. That makes it a Merry Christmas, despite any other conditions that we face, including pandemics. And so, with that in mind, I wish you the merriest of Christmases. Tonight is all about giving and receiving. The divine has given a great gift, the gift of itself. But it's up to us still to open our hearts, our minds, and our hands to receive that gift. And so, as always in our service, we have a time for a love offering. And you can either put a gift in the basket here at the front or at the back, or you can wait till the end of the service if there isn't enough light to walk around. But I invite us now to open our minds and our hearts and to receive the presence and the light of the divine that is coursing in our veins, in our blood. That we receive that. And our love offering is simple. It says, I give in love because all I am is love and light. Together. I give in love because all I am is love and light. And Kelly will now sing another carol for us, Silent Night. You can join in if you'd like.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherd love's pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth.
This time I invite us into a short meditation. And I invite us once again to go into the silence of our own hearts. To the landscape of our own souls. To a pure crystalline space that looks like it has just had a fresh fall of white snow, untouched. We breathe in deeply the peace of that scene. And we allow ourselves to become with it, to merge fully into its purity and whiteness, its peace and quiet. And way, way down, deep, deep down, we sense or see a flame of light glowing in the center of our being. This is the Christ light that we are, the Christ that we are. The divine light, which is our essence, that wishes to be renewed and reborn in us this night. Through our willingness to allow it to shine forth through our words and our actions. We belong to the light. It is our very being. It is our soul. And it is our future self, who we are becoming. It is the energy of divine love in which we live, move, and have our being. And it calls out into the darkness tonight to us to come into unity and oneness with all people, animals, plants, mineral life, with everyone and everything. Let us rest for a moment in the oneness of being and light. And as we open our eyes, we affirm our true identity. I am the light I am, together. I am the light I am. And so we have a responsive reading. I will do a call, and each time you will respond with that response. what has come into being as the Word was life, and that life was the light of all people. I am the light I am. The light shines in the darkest night, but the night did not overcome it. I am the light I am. John came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. I am the light I am. The true light which enlightens everyone was coming into the world. I am the light I am. And to all who received the word, power was given to become children of God. I am the light I am. And the word became flesh and lived among us. And we have seen the word's glory, the glory as of a parent's only child, full of grace and truth. The light I am. And so we come to our favorite part of the evening, when we get to share the light. And so I will light my candle from the Christ candle, and then I will go out and light candles in the front, and then they in turn will pass it to the people behind them. So please wait until someone passes the light to you. And you may want to say to someone as you light their candle, "You are the light." And you can respond, "I am." So I invite you to turn and look around and to see the light that you are and the light that everybody here is. We are these beautiful light beings. We're lighting up the darkness. And it's only just beginning. Our work is ahead of us. So we hold our light proudly as we close with a reflection from Nelson Mandela. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shirking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. And so my prayer and blessing for us this evening is that you may know this night the warmth of God's light within you, in your heart and your soul. May you understand that your only purpose here is to let that light blaze brightly for all to see. And may you know that hope, joy, love, and peace, may you know the love, hope, joy, and peace that brings you and brings to all people. Can I get an amen? And so it is. So let us stand as Kellie will lead us in our closing song. I have 3 very brief announcements. If you are in need of a Christmas gift, we do have caramel corn on sale in the bookstore. We do have some apple cider to share for anybody who would like to have some. And as we mentioned in the e-bulletin yesterday, because of the possibility of snow, the service Sunday morning is only on Zoom. There will be no in-person presence. All right. Kellie. Joy to the world. Joy to the world.
The Lord is come.
Let earth receive her King. Let every
heart prepare him room.
and heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Lord
now reigns.
Let
Us our songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains,
repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
So if you can just hold your candle up and then quench it and hold it up for a second or two, it will solidify and then we won't have wax on the